I'm so smart.
Is it a question or is it?
Okay, let's get started. So for this lesson, we will be using Crayola Air Dry Clay, and you can purchase it at Target, Walmart, Michaels, or any arts and crafts supply store. Or you could, of course, probably order it online. This is an air dry clay. Of course, there's many different types of clay. It's convenient to use this air dry clay at home because we don't really have a kiln. We're probably not going to put it in the oven, and it is really hot outside. But the best way for this to work is going to be to let it air dry, and after a few days to a week, it should be dry enough so that we can go ahead and paint it. So we're going to be making pinch pots today. It's one of the most simple projects you can make with clay, and my two sons are going to be helping me out. And they do have some experience making some pinch pots, but we're going to show you guys how to do them at home or next time you have a chance. So let's get started. Open the pack. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a ball of clay. And so let me start. And you don't need too much. It depends on the size of pot you want to make. Of course, if we had a classroom, we'd be using a little bit less because we'd be sharing different amounts of clay. But I think this would be a good amount for a small pinch pot. What do you guys think? Mm-hmm. All right, so why don't you guys go ahead and get a ball of clay about that size. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit. Go ahead, guys. And whenever we use clay, we do want to make sure that we knead it a little bit first. Now this is air dry clay, but we still want to knead it. Remember, kneading, K-N-E-A-D, kneading just like you would do with making bread, pizza dough, or tortillas. So there's different ways to knead it. This is pretty soft clay. I'm just going to press it down, fold it over, try to get out any air bubbles that might be stuck in it. Turn it a little bit every time I do it. And this is pretty simple clay, so I don't think we'll need to knead it too much. And plus, we're not firing it or putting it in a kiln, so we don't need to knead it all that much. If you don't know what a kiln is like a big stove or a big industrial oven that's used to make ceramics or clay hard, and it's called firing. But we're not doing that today because it's air dry clay. So we're going to get it smoothed out. There's different ways you can smooth it out. You can roll it into a circle like that in your hands, or you can roll it in a circle on the table. Once you have it smooth enough, we're going to start by poking our finger into the center of the clay. And you guys, why don't you have it down closer on the table so the folks at home can see. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to start poking my finger in it. And of course, we don't want to pinch anyone else, even if our younger brother's annoying us. We don't want to be pinching them, but we are going to be making a pinch pot by doing a pinching motion just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep pressing my thumb in and turning the clay as I'm doing that. So when you do that, you'll notice that the clay should get a bit wider as far as the center part goes, but it should also be a little thinner on the edges as well. Now, thickness that you don't want to go below is probably a thickness that's like a 1/4 inch or maybe the size of your fingernail. So Raja, you might want to check your fingernail because yours is getting a little bit too thin. But you know what? That's okay. If you wanted to put it back into a ball and start again, you could. You can try that? Okay, because that might be a little too thin. Because Zion, do you know what will happen if it's too thin once it dries? What might happen easily?
The edge might break off.
Yeah, it might crack or it might break, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So remember, you want to try to keep it about as thick as your fingernail width. So about as wide as your fingernail. So mine's getting there, and you can feel the bottom and the edges too, and you should be able to try to keep it pretty even. If If you want to, you can smooth it out by rolling it on the table, or like he's doing right there, you can turn it over and kind of just lightly tap it on the table. You don't want to press it too hard because the clay is still pretty soft. So I'm just lightly tapping it on the table. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me a flat edge on the top of my pinch pot, just like that. Okay. Now with this clay, I'm not really even going to be using water or anything. It's just an air dry clay. We probably could, but for this, it's soft enough that I think it'll be good without any water. So now, there I go. I've got a little bowl or a little pot. What I could do is lightly drop it on the table like that. Are you going to make it again?
Yeah.
All right. Try it again. That's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm lightly dropping on the table just like that to kind of flatten out the bottom so that it will stay in place once it's dried. And it looks like Zion looks like he made his a little bit wider on the bottom too, and that's great. You can actually make different shapes as well. So for example, if I didn't want it to be circular like that, I could pinch it this way and I could make it more like, it kind of looks like a teardrop shape, doesn't it? Almost like a teardrop shape like that. Or if I press in this way, what does it start to look like now?
Heart?
Oh yeah, kind of like a heart. So yeah, I can make different shapes like that. You can make them triangular. Maybe this heart might look nice, so maybe I'll try to keep it as a heart. Maybe I could keep it for a Mother's Day gift. How about that? Maybe we could give it to Mom for a Mother's Day gift. Okay, so Roger, remember, you're gonna put your finger in there.
I need a little bit more clay, I think.
Okay, if you want, you can get a little bit more. We're gonna be finishing these up pretty soon though, okay? So now if I wanna just get a few more details in there or make it little bits of changes, I can do that because it'll be a while before it dries. So when I do finish it, I don't wanna touch it too much. After that, I just kinda wanna let it dry. Now if you wanted to, you could actually make your own clay tools as well. Using like maybe a plastic or disposable knife. You might not want to use a kitchen butter knife, but you could ask your parents. Or you could use a popsicle stick, other things that you might have at home. Sometimes you also use old pencils or colored pencils that are kind of used up. So there's mine and Zion's right there. And if you had a lot of people making them, you could put your initials on the bottom. You could carve them in with your fingernails, or like I said, with one of the homemade clay tools. So I just put my initials on the bottom. So you could do that too if you want, Zion. So now, Roger, let's see you do yours. So I want to see you take your thumb and poke it in. Okay, and then turn it as you're pressing. So you might want to hold it and turn it as you're pressing in with your thumb. Okay, doing the pinching motion. All right, looks pretty good. And so once you finish yours, I'll put a photo of all three of them together. How about that? Okay, so he's gonna work a little bit more on his, and I'll let you guys get started on your own as well.